Hi, guys. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm here with my friend Samantha Gunther, and she is the managing partner at Ascent and also an Army spouse. Hi, Sam.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. And I mean, I've had such a great time like chatting and catching up. I mean, like, I think we've known each other, we said, for over 10 years.
I
So
know.
none of us can believe it's
Crazy.
that long.
No, not at all. And haven't seen you probably in, 7 years.
I know, but it's been fun. Like, I think the last time we saw each other was in Colorado Springs, and you spoke at our summit, which was great. And then I started following
Yes,
vicariously on Instagram, like your journey through Germany, which was so fun.
it was. We had a great time living there. I would go back in a heartbeat.
I know. And we're scheming to find a way to get her back
Yes,
to Asia, but
yes.
we could do this forever. But I'm really excited to introduce people to you because Sam on our team was like her story is amazing because as a mom, your story really resonated with her because you talk about balance, you talk, and you're a professional woman who's like charging forward big time, but you're also really engrossed in your family life. Like you're there for your boys and you're there for balance. So I'm excited to talk more about that. But before we get too
Same
far,
here.
can you share a little bit about your military spouse journey with everybody who doesn't know you?
Yes, no, definitely. So, I actually married my high school sweetheart. We met in 2004. I went to college. He joined the army. And so we did not date the whole time. So out of college, I ended up getting a job. I have a political science and sociology undergrad degree. And right out of college, I got a job working on the Hill. I had done a lot of internships on the Hill and just kind of kept my network growing to get the job out of college. And so I started off as a staff assistant working for Senator Inhofe on the Hill and answering those phones. You learn a lot about your constituents and just learning about the grunt work. And, all of that is very important as you are just growing. So I'm thankful for that. So I started off there and then ended up getting married 3 years after being on the Hill. And my husband was right out of basic, went to Korea. He was being stationed at Fort Carson. And so moving across the country, I just had no idea what I was going to do. Like, what does the job market look like? There's no federal elected official. There we'll get to all of that. Like, I'll make my way back there. But what does that look like? And how do you get involved when you don't even know any of these people? And so I decided to go get my master's. So before we even got there, I was already enrolled in a program, started a program. Fort Carson is a great installation that really helps military spouses, and they put on a lot of summits and engagements and groups and bring in some really good mentors. And I went to one as soon as we got there, met this amazing woman that she hosted groups in the community for retirees looking to break into the workforce and kind of find a career versus just a job. And so me and another military spouse actually attended those completely out of my comfort zone. Felt, awkward naturally at first because these are all retired military men. And here I am, like 20, mid 20s. And it was great though. I mean, these people help connect you, they welcome you, you learn a lot about the community. So I ended up applying to a few places there. And I actually started working and got accepted to be the city council's um, forgetting my job title at the moment then, but I handled all the boards and commissions for the cities. I was assistant to the city council, so I handled all the boards and commissions. I handled their committee agendas. Had no experience in local government coming from the federal government, but it was great. You're with the constituents, you're actually doing things that you see happening and matter or change taking place. And the city had just transition to strong mayor form of government. So for me, gosh, I gained so much institutional knowledge there about, the when you learn like the change agent and all of that. And so it just to live that real time in that job was really, really, really amazing. I was there and we'll get to this, but I had my time had kind of come to an end there. And I took a job with the Chamber of Commerce in Colorado Springs doing a lot of military affairs engagement. So we worked with defense businesses, excuse me, defense businesses in the area, and then also the five installations across the Pikes Peak region. So again, kind of just made both of my worlds perfect, the military and industry. My boss at the chamber actually recommended me for a job to be Senator Cory Gardner's regional director. And so thankful for bosses and mentors like that, that they let you go and they see your potential for something next. And we actually were so fortunate enough to be at Fort Carson for 7 years. That's not despite the hardships that came. We went through two deployments there, a lot of training. We had two kids at the time, and I think there was we calculated once 3 years he was only home for 3 months, and it wasn't even consecutively. And so I'm managing, my mom, I'm managing a job, and then also just the military life, as we all know, it has its challenges, and the civilian world also has equal challenges, but we face them so rapidly and so quick sometimes that you're just trying. It's like a balancing act. You're just trying to like not drop the ball and make it seem like everything has to be perfect when naturally it doesn't have to be. Um, and so we were there for 7 years. He comes down on orders to go to Germany, and just devastated about it. I'm like, I love my job. I love everybody that I've met, everybody that I've worked with. But we have to go. Like, this is our service. This is what we know we're doing. And I'm here to support my husband's career in the military, and we're going. And my coworker, she is actually the one that was advocating for me to become a caseworker because you can do casework literally anywhere. And so she's the one that actually helped me become a stay-at-home caseworker and work from overseas. And I loved that job. I learned so much.
You were
It's
the
crazy.
first person to ever do that, weren't you?
Yes, yeah. There were a lot as we were doing the research of if is this possible. There are several offices that employ people not in the same state or district or whatever. But as a military spouse stationed overseas, the first one to do it. And it was amazing because I was surprised how many constituents are overseas and need help. And I was there during COVID. And even though the senator lost, we still had tons of casework to do when COVID happened and whatnot before he ended up leaving. But you'd just be surprised how many constituents are overseas that actually need help. And so I was able to do that. Since I was hours ahead, I was able to get on VIP cases a lot earlier and get things done and figured out really soon. So I loved it. That I would do that job again in a heartbeat. But he lost the election, and they lose elections, you lose your job. We're in Germany, and it's COVID. Nothing is happening, and so my family has a family office that has invests in critical and emerging use tech. And I know we touched on this, and people probably like that sounds so crazy. What is it? But it's technology companies that are successful in industry and then also breaking into the government, successful in the government, and solving a national security need, cyber intel, whatnot. And so forever my family's office has invested in these technologies. And so I started to help align the technologies to members of Congress and align the messaging behind all of that. And then, look at the political landscape and elections and everything like that. And huge learning curve for me. But I feel like I've been probably doing it for the last 5 years. And I've just learned so much. And just my background from starting off on the Hill as a staff assistant, chamber, and, every place, I've kind of compiled all of my jobs into one job, which has been pretty
Yeah.
amazing. And I still feel like there's so much more to learn, but it's good for right now.
No, I think it's amazing because, like you said so much, and there's so many threads to pull on.
I've
But there's
talked so much.
one that I'm like, so I think I'm looking at, and this is with the benefit of hindsight, right? Like when you were working for the chamber and you were working all the boards and commissions, I'm like, that makes total sense. Because when you and I met, you were working on behalf of Senator Gardner and doing his board of visitor stuff with the Air Force Academy. And of
Yes.
course he would trust you with that because you'd done that for the chamber.
Yes, exactly. And it's just funny how two totally different, local and federal, but it's just crazy how it really all does align for the community.
Because you have the skill set, right? And the skill set translates. And so I think that's interesting because I think as military spouses, and I'm certainly guilty of this, like we do so, I mean, I just remember when we moved to DC, I was doing Department of Education grants for like some early childhood start. And I'm like, how is this going to help me in the future? And then in a future job, I had something where I had to like figure out how to test platforms. I'm like, oh my God, I've done this before. And so I feel like a lot of times when we're developing skills, we don't even know how that's going to help us in the future. But like you said, everything that you've ever done prepared you for where you are now. I mean, that's crazy and that's
It
amazing.
has. And there's definitely been the professional valleys and setbacks that I've had to go through, but ultimately those setbacks just launch you into something better. And it'd be great if we knew that when we're going through these things, or like, darn, why didn't I get that promotion, or I really wanted that job. Why, this is an internal promotion. Like, why didn't I get it? Um, but there's all a good reason for it when you just keep trusting the process and keep putting yourself out
Hard.
there.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because
It
I don't know,
is.
I always think of that one. Have you ever seen that one cartoon where there's a guy in a mine and he's mining for diamonds and he's just been there, he's got his pickaxe and he's like, I give up. And he's this close to the diamonds. And like
Yes.
I feel like that's a military spouse experience, right? Like you never know. But like I want to go back a couple steps and you were talking about how your coworker convinced you to talk to your staff, like your chief of staff or whoever it was to allow you to take your job with you overseas. I mean, that's pretty ballsy. Like you said, nobody had ever done it before. Like nobody had ever allowed a congressional staffer to do that overseas. Um, I think there are a lot of spouses who may not be going overseas, but they may have jobs here where they're like, I really love my job. I really need to make the case for them to let me keep this if I'm PCSing from like Georgia to Alabama. I mean, do you have any tips for them about how to make their case to their employer?
Well, gosh, well, for me, I hadn't even thought of doing anything like that. I just figured, gotta cut ties, gotta move on. And it was actually my coworker that she had talked to our boss for me, but like not for me, but she had said, hey, I can train Sam to do this, and I'm thinking like, oh, this is just a joke, no one's ever going to go for it. And then he actually calls me into his office and is like, so I think that we could actually make this a possibility. We need to make sure that we can actually do this. And for me, I'm like, yes, absolutely. This is amazing. But I was scared. And I think you have to do it scared. You have to like be willing to ask scared. And that me, I wasn't even thinking about it. And here my other coworker, she was. And so we have to just think outside of the box for it and do it scared for sure. Because if you don't, then there's the missed opportunity.
Yeah, because if you don't, the answer is definitely no, right? If you don't ask.
Exactly. Yeah. The kind I was just figured, well, I'm moving. This is just how it is, and we'll just figure out what's next somehow. I don't know, but we'll just figure
But
it
it seems
out.
like you had somebody who was willing to advocate for you. So it's like
Yes.
finding those mentor sponsors and allies. And then
Yes.
you guys made a case for how it would work, right? Like you didn't just like, just trust me, it's going to work. Did you guys lay out a case of this is,
Oh, I had a binder like this thick of training and everything. So there was a lot of work that went in behind it. Um, but I want to go back to like just a comment about the mentors. When every place I've worked, I've just worked with such amazing people. And generally, I felt like back then, maybe not anymore, I was the younger ones of everything. And just being around them, listening to them, taking their advice, and actually doing what they say just is invaluable to your career.
so being open to
Yeah.
advice. Sometimes it may
I
not be something you want to hear.
Yeah, no, exactly. Sometimes you're like, well, I learned this in school and this is how we should do it, or this is what we did at my last job. And I think for me, coming in right away, it's just always the listening and the learning before you come in thinking, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how we should do it. And I think that gains a lot of respect with the people that you work with. And so that's why I just feel like everybody that I've worked with has been so why she had the idea of me still, working remotely for, because she would essentially have been, she was my boss when I moved over there. And so just really thankful for people like that.
I think that's amazing. And I mean, I just look at your career path and you've had a really non-traditional career path. And I just, and people like you, I always wonder, like, how did you know what to do next to set you up for the next big thing? Because, you jumped from going to school to going right into, like government. And then and then from government, you took like a huge step. You didn't just, like you went right into the senator's office. And then now you're a managing partner at, your family office. And it's like, how did you know what to do to get to the next thing?
So I don't know if I always knew what to do. Um, so I just think because I think there's been the valleys to get to each place. And so I remember when I was working for the city, I had applied for another position internally there. I kind of had just maxed out at everything that I could and would accomplish in the position that I was in. So it was time to just move on, do more, learn more. And I actually didn't get the job because I hadn't finished my master's yet, which is unfortunate. And they ended up hiring somebody that didn't have their master's anyway. And so that's when I knew I was like, I'm not going to grow anymore here. I need to go find something else. And so I had applied to a bunch of places and ended up getting my interview with the chamber. And it was a pay cut. And it wasn't exactly what I was familiar with or even knew what to do, but I knew that I needed to learn new skills, get out there and do more. And it just seemed like a good fit. It was working with the military, love working with the military, and I'm comfortable with working with the military. And so that professional valley as like the pay cut, not getting promoted internally, stepping into a world that you're not sometimes thrilled about, I think also just sets us up for that launching pad to where I am now. So I think taking a step back, or as you mentioned in the One Magazine article that you wrote, that tactical retreat can ultimately just propel you towards something far better. And I think as military spouses, we need to do this, we needed to have this done, and we need to accomplish this by this time, and this is what it needs to look like, and it's not going to look like that. And I think, when you talk about that tactical retreat, that's taking that, whatever that may look like, not working or being in a position that you're just, okay, this is filling the gap right now and I'm learning something new, ultimately helps you get to the next best thing. Because each thing for me, I feel like when I look back, I'm like, oh, it has actually been the next best thing. These valleys were actually really good and I'm on the mountaintop now. So
So
it's all perspective.
well, I think it's all also a lot of self-awareness. Like I think you have to know yourself and you have to understand what's important to you at the time, right? Because you might be at a different place. Like you might have, like at some point you might have just had a child and you're like, I don't need the hard charging job right now. Or, like your husband might be in a deployment and you're like, I don't need that in my life right now. Or like now you might be more settled to where you're like, I can go hard. Like I
Yeah, yeah,
definitely I can be in DC more often. I can do whatever it is, right? And I think it's also like what you said earlier, where you have to have faith that it's going to work out, which
exactly. Yeah,
so
exactly. Which
so
is really hard to do. Really hard to do.
really
But yeah,
hard to do.
exactly. Like I love how you say that you have to put it into perspective of where you are in life. And I think a lot of military spouses, and I'm 100% guilty of this, is like ignoring that reality sometimes. But I'm at a point now where I accept that and I want to be there. One, when your spouse is in the military, you have so many more responsibilities than when your family is home. Like my husband is gone a lot, and a lot of the household six responsibilities do fall on me. And so I'm thankful to be in a job where I can do it from home, where I would love to be in an office and be around people and you get that energy and that charge, but this is perfect for now. And like our ultimate, we're also serving our country as well. And I think, I don't know, maybe before I used to feel embarrassed of saying like, oh, I'm serving too. But no, like we are. And I tell my kids that all the time. I'm like, all of your, dad missing all of your things is you serving too. And it's just feels like Valley sometimes, but don't look at it that way. So
No,
I
I
don't
love
know.
your life and career. I love, and I hope everybody reads your highlights online because we did an interview with Sam via emails, and so we put all those answers online. I hope you take a look at it because you really talk about encouraging spouses not to take themselves too seriously, and you do mention the
Yes.
valleys and the mountaintops, and you're very transparent in the way you talk about that. So, what do you think? What do you do to keep moving ahead when you find yourself in a valley?
So for me, I kind of broke it down, and I'm going to totally quote you in your tactical retreat because I love that so much. Like, but I think it's you redefine what progress looks like. And when you're first starting off your career to young military spouses, you have in your mind of what that looks like, what each promotion is going to be, what the next best thing is going to be. But I think you have to redefine over time what the progress looks like. And it may not be the progress that you initially set out to succeed on, but go back and look at the progress that you have made, and it's going to be amazing. Look at it from a different light of like what you've actually accomplished, holding down your family by yourself while having a career, and it may not be the one that you wanted, but just redefining what the progress looks like, and then taking a step back and making the tactical retreats that you talk about so you can propel yourself into something better. And when you're in those valleys also, I think lead with humility and always keep learning. um and this is where it comes in, like, don't take yourself too seriously. Is I was going through a valley at one point, and I remember this mentor that I had. She goes, I love how you can just laugh at everything. And I had never thought about that before. But I mean, laughter is sometimes the best, makes the hardest valleys bearable. And so you just have to kind of like, yep, this is happening and here we are, but I'm going to make the best of it. And I think when you do that, you see the success and you see the effort and everything put in a lot. You see yourself as actually accomplishing something and being successful. And so um also just trust the broader journey. There's going to be those steps forward and those steps back, and that's just normal, and just be okay with it and enjoy those moments versus saying, oh, well, so and so over here is doing this, I should be doing this too. And we just we have a world and a culture that likes, comparing is always just at our front of mind. And just realizing we cannot compare, our journey as a military spouse to somebody else's journey. All of our husbands have different kinds of jobs, and we live all different kinds of places and have different amount of number of kids and whatnot. So just trusting that broader journey also, and then, let going of your perfection. In my mind, everything, I would want everybody to see like everything is perfect, but it's not, and that's okay. And as military spouses, I think it's okay that we admit that not everything is perfect. Um, so that's always been helpful for me, of like just coming out of valleys of like, I'm not the only one that's going through this. There's other spouses before me that have gone through this. There's others behind me that will. And I hope that my story, can help others realize, like, if there is a setback in their career or there's a setback where they don't have a job, that it's okay. And the setback is going to launch you, as long as it's, you want it and you're putting the effort in and you're growing your network and meeting people and all of that. So, and just leading on mentors and gaining their wisdom and just surrounding yourself with people that um, understand what you want for out of your career also, I think are all great. I mean, I know that's a lot of when you're in the valleys and whatnot, but it's just, I think logic and laughter, I think, are always just really helpful. I think I know in my article, I don't know if I'd written this, but I don't like the saying like I need to have a pity party, but have that pity party for a moment. And I had taken a military spouse leadership class, and they call it, being in the basement. It's like go ahead and allow yourself to be in that basement, but get out of that basement as quickly as you can. Like have that pity party, but just don't stay there because it's not going to do you any good. Just staying there. So that's where the laughter I think comes in. And it's just have fun. I think being transparent and being relatable does just help a lot. We're all on the same team and all trying to be successful and all want to see other military spouses be successful. So I think we can just help each other along the way and seeing, those tactical retreats as good things and not always bad things, like you say, are great.
Oh, it's so interesting to me because first of all, I think you're absolutely right. I think military spouses and probably women are not really great at acknowledging what we've done well. We're always looking at where we're lacking or what we still need to do. And like just a little side personal anecdote, when I met Sam, I was surprised to find out, through reading your article, that that was one of your personal valleys. Because when I
Yes.
met you, it was at at a table at the Air Force Academy in this big grand ball boardroom, and it's all like three-star retired and three-star generals there,
Yes.
all the senior leadership, and there's congressional members. And here's a 20-something-year-old
Right. I know.
who I'm seeing there going, what a badass. Like she is holding this.
Yeah, yeah.
I never would have thought that that was a personal value for you.
Meanwhile, I'm thinking, what am I doing here with all of these really important people?
And that was so amazing because I'm like, and it's so funny because I think we're so much harder on ourselves than the reality and the situation really calls for us to be because you're in the room, someone needed you to be.
Right.
So by virtue of being in that room, you're a badass. And so to think that you were going through a personal valley, I'm like, dude, what must her highs be?
How is
That's
yeah, yeah,
it's
right,
cool.
exactly. And that's like going back to like the career I had that before that. I loved that job so much, but in my mind initially, it was a step, it was a lateral move versus an upward move. And so, but at that job, I was doing hail and farewells for the community and bringing in the generals and the high ranking people, so it kind of just naturally set me up to be comfortable in the next environment. So that's just always a good just like reminder of like, okay, even though it to me it felt that way, it really
Didn't
wasn't.
look that way. It did not.
Yeah, it didn't look that way or wasn't that way. So
Yeah,
yeah.
no. So I guess that would be my last question to you is, because you've clearly experienced the imposter syndrome, how do you move past
Right.
it? Like, do you move past it or you just do it? Like, what would you tell other people who are experiencing imposter syndrome?
It's so funny. So I have a younger sister. She's 8 years younger. And so I learned about the imposter syndrome from her. And I'm like, oh, wow, interesting. Like, I feel like I probably have had that before. Um, but I think it's not even like we can do these things. It's not, we're just putting that projection on ourselves. And I think when I go and look back, I'm like, wow, that was me doing that, nobody else. And so I think it's just getting our minds on the right track of like, I can handle this. I'm capable of doing all of this, even though my career path doesn't look like others where, they're vice president of this company or they're the director of this or whatnot. I mean, we can do all of those things as military spouses. Our journey is just a whole lot different and more zigzaggier than most people. And I think that's what adds value and character to us, to employers. So we just can't think like
I
that.
have news for you. You're a managing director of a company and you manage your family's family office. I think you've arrived.
Thank you. Yes. And ASCENT stands for Accelerate, Scale, Critical, Emerging New Technologies fun little acronym there. So
It was funny because you're chatting and you're like, oh, sometimes I feel like it's over my head, but I just keep doing. So I think you are like,
yeah.
I've so enjoyed telling this story because
I
I think,
have to tell you, me and QuickBooks have a love-hate. So if any spouses have advice on how to love QuickBooks, please let me
drop
know.
them in the comments. Or if you have
Yes,
any questions,
yes,
Sam, drop them in the comments because she'll answer them. This
yeah,
has been so much fun.
yes. Thank
And
you, Sue. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything that you guys do. And Samantha, hopefully I'll get to chat with her here shortly
our
too.
OG Sam, I know there's like
Yes, yes.
Sam, but no, and thank you to USA for making these conversations possible. And I hope you
Yes,
guys join
thank
us next
you.
week. But Sam, thank you so much for sharing your story. This has been
Thank you.
we're gonna say
Thank
goodbye
you,
to
Sue.
you guys, and then we're gonna catch up a little bit longer. Bye, guys.
All right, see you guys. Thank you.